My name's Ronnie Reading. I work at Abingdon School, which is an 11 to 18 independent school in Oxfordshire. My role there is, my title is Deputy Head Educational Development. So I've moved from a uniquely teaching and learning focus through to a broader role, which includes looking at staff engagement, the climate and culture in the organisation, and training, and looking at some teaching and learning, but bringing both students and teachers on in their research and how they approach their pedagogy or their learning across the board. I first discovered coaching when I was coached myself. So I've had some experience of having been coached in a variety of organisations. So from a church background, I had some coaching and went on some listening courses where I was learning to listen better in a church organisation. So that's kind of the roots of the start of my coaching experience. I then had some professional coaching myself through work, which was really, really helpful. And then as a school, we have what we call coaching conversations, but I was becoming more and more aware that we were using a framework of coaching, so perhaps some grow model or some sense of some of the listening techniques or questioning techniques. But we were calling these coaching conversations, and I wasn't really sure that they were actually coaching conversations. They were more good and a valued thing, but not really what coaching was. So that was kind of my background of using coaching and being involved in coaching. So I first came across Tim Wells when I did some CPD, I think with HMC schools, so the independent sector schools. He was presenting with something and we connected very quickly. So I work with a team of assistant directors of teaching and learning who lead on development and research, and I really felt he would be helpful to come and talk to us about coaching. So he did some work with us in school first up. And then through his contact, I was aware that I wanted to hone my skills. And he then put me in touch with Tracy. And through that, we then started a relationship where she then said, oh, we're going to be doing this coaching for educators. So that's where that came from. I've done a variety of coaching days, or in fact, I think I might have done one with Kim. And I felt very much that I knew quite a lot. So my background had been really, I'd read a lot around it, but I felt that I needed some real rigor in my approach and my understanding. So I felt that I was at this certain level. I just felt that I needed a bit more authenticity and a bit of rigor around what I was doing. And I guess two other aspects. One was some validation to understand what kind of level I was now being able to coach at. And so that kind of validation of that. And then some more kind of framing around what my practice might look like, and some help towards understanding what I would need to do to become a better coach. So integrating the learning into my school and my role has been really exciting. So we have gone from having, well, continuing with a coaching culture, but I've been able to take what I've been learning, and I've done some training with whole school. So I recorded a session. So it's now, people have listened to about an hour talking about good listening techniques, and framing a coaching conversation really effectively. All of that I'd learned from Tracy and Kim, and I just sort of reframed it into our context and how that might work with middle leaders. And now I also then take that, because it conveniently was videoed, I then have linked that and put it into my new staff briefing that I send out. So they have that clip so that they are understanding as they come into school what a coaching conversation should look like from their perspective. The other thing is really super exciting because I am now needing to do 100 hours of practice. I've been to the head and talked to him about how I can frame that into our school day. So I'm now offer slots for members of staff, and not just, this is the really exciting bit, it's not just teaching staff, we're doing it across the foundation. So I've got support staff who can come in at 8 o'clock and have a coaching conversation with me. I've got other members of staff who don't finish till 5:30, and so I'm giving an hour at the end of the day, and some other slots in the week. And so the head has been really affirming and really on board with allowing me to do that. So I've got 7 people joining in September who are teaching staff, and then I think about 15 support staff. I'm offering them 3 coaching conversations through the year that they will be able to come in complete confidence, just come with an issue or a problem or something that they just want to explore, and have that as kind of part of their package of joining the school, which is just super, super exciting. The other bit to the puzzle is continuing with some twilight sessions where people can just come and talk through good practice. What does it look like to use good questions? I'm struggling with when I'm having my coaching conversation. Can we just talk through some kind of scenarios and little mini role plays? So offering that on an ad hoc over the year, I think will be really exciting. So I'm now in charge very much as we move from 700 years of being an all boys school to becoming a co-educational school and introducing girls, and I think there is a real piece around culture and staff engagement and training, and this element of coaching just sits so neatly with this that actually says, do you know what, we can be vulnerable in a safe place. And if we're going to allow our members of staff, from whichever background they come from, to have this time, I think it says a lot about the culture of a place that says, actually, we believe in you. There is so little time to sit and reflect and contemplate and just kind of be. And I think having an organisation that says this is really key to who you are and how you are is borne out by allowing people time to have coaching. Impact of coaching in the organisation has really taken a turn, I think, because, as I said, we have this coaching conversation culture, which has been, you kind of do it because you're told to do it. And the change that I'm seeing now is people engaging in something that is offered rather than a prerequisite that you have to get through a certain number of coaching, 15-minute coaching conversations with your line manager. And I think the shift culturally at the moment, and I think, I hope don't sound too arrogant, but having now being able to present myself as qualified to a certain level and on a journey, I think people understanding that I've got a contract, that there is more efficacy, I think, around it has definitely changed. Often what happens, I think, perhaps in organisations, is that people, particularly when they come to a senior leader, think that they can't really say what they really want to say because it'll go somewhere. And when people see that, oh, it really is confidential, it really hasn't gone anywhere, and I have got something out of it, then I'm hope that will start to snowball and that people will, come on board. As an organisation, I think as we move and we shift into this new space, I think having coaching alongside, enabling people to come and have coaching conversations around the move and their uncertainty and some of them have some concern about what that might look like and a bit fearful about things. So being able to give that space to people for that reason as well is pretty cool. Coaching in terms of what effects it might have in education and perhaps a broader level, I think often there are times when we have small and big problems that often we talk to somebody and they're like, oh yeah, I know, that's what I have, or oh my goodness, yeah, I totally agree. And often what happens is that you spiral and you become engaged in a conversation that is a friend-to-friend conversation or a colleague-to-colleague conversation that then kind of exacerbates either how you're feeling about something or the actions that you might take, and becomes a little bit, maybe some element of copying. Or and I think the difference between that, which is totally valid, we need to just go, do you know what, this has just happened, and we need those kind of conversations, but to reframe and have a conversation that whereby you find, facilitated by a good coach, but you find the answers and you come up with a plan, is so much more empowering. And having been coached myself, I just see that when I have a chat with somebody about something and you think, oh yeah, that's a good idea, often it just sits as a good idea. Whereas with a coaching, a real kind of proper coaching, you end up owning it much more because you have found that solution. You then take on your ideas and you own it, and then you've got that responsibility of the coach just checking in and guess, okay, let's be accountable about what you're going to do. So I think on a personal level, on a teacher level, on a staff level, finding solutions to your own problems is so much more empowering. And actually, I think the outcomes are more impactful. I think on a wider level, isn't there something about setting a culture where it's okay to say, do you know what, I just don't know what's going on with this thing, and allowing oneself to have that vulnerability in a safe space, I think is really key in a society where we judge failure, where we talk about, constantly kind of the next thing, and where possibly making oneself vulnerable and saying, actually, I don't think I'm doing so well with this, is a culturally really, really important and influential skill to be able to have, or indeed something to be able to provide that really, really will shift, I hope. Perhaps I'm talking, to kind of big scale thinking, but I think it's really, really important and really key to making a shift, not personally, organizationally, but actually when you think of big institutions, that's what cultural shift does. If you allow people to go, do you know what, I'm not okay, and for it to be safe to say you're not okay, them finding the problems, they're going to fly. I've seen it happen so much. Yeah, that's why I think I'm really excited about the future of coaching. If somebody else was to come to me to inquire about whether to do the coaching course, well, actually, let me just say people have already come and I've already recommended people. I think what I love about it, it's really, there's no waffle. It's really to the point. It's framed really well with an understanding. It's well organized. You know what you're getting. And I felt complete confidence in both Tracy and Kim's, not just their delivery, which was really lovely, and the organization around that, but I felt really confident in their experience and in their knowledge and in their own training. So I felt that I was I was getting something from the best, if I'm honest. And that was validated through some of the things that they talked about, but and also, their experiences and their qualifications, and the International Coaching Federation, the whole kind of framework was, there was real rigor about it, and there was a sense of accountability of, okay, well, if you're going to go forward, you need to be doing those things. And for me, it and for them, they were talking about, the importance of practice. It's all very well. And I feel like I came into this, with reams and reams of books that I've read and kind of head knowledge. But until I sat in there watching a role play and then bam, you do a role play. And the more we did it, the more confident you become, and the more kind of aware of maybe some of your idiosyncrasies or the language you're using, the manner in which you're coming across. All of those things are just it's so practical. The course is so practical.